So in this episode right now, I am talking to Mr. David Taylor, DT, my neighbor and friend, and commercial airline pilot, about struggles of being an airline pilot, why he became an airline pilot, and all the things that's actually happening in today's news. If you know it, you know it. So let's get right into it. Mm-hmm. All right. So D, man,
Yes,
I appreciate you taking the commute.
Oh, nah, it's no problem. It wasn't a far commute, and it was not that much traffic.
Yeah,
so,
but hey, that's always a good thing.
Yep.
Definitely a good thing. So tell me why you became an airline pilot. Like what was the reason behind it? I'm just curious. Like growing up, what made you want to even look into this field?
Well, you know what? When I was a kid, basically, a lot of times when we traveled, I always wanted to sit by the window seat, and I always thought it was kind of fun to travel and get up in planes. I used to always like to take off in landings, and I think that's kind of what started it. Uh-huh. And I kept talking to my parents all the time, saying, "Yeah, I want to be a pilot. I want to be a pilot." And I never used to take it that serious until probably sophomore year of high school.
Ooh.
So sophomore year of high school, they was just like, "Okay, this boy keeps talking about this. Let's see if he actually likes it." So then they set me up on one of these intro flights, a demo flights, and they take you up for 30 minutes, and the flight instructor lets you fly around for a little bit.
Yeah.
Get you a little taste of how it feels to fly and handle the controls.
Oh, that's dope.
After that, I came down with all smiles, and I told my parents, I was just like, "Yes, I'm going to flight school," and they was just like, "Okay, this is what we're doing now." Because the rest of the family, pretty much more extended family, more like grandparents that was always having a little bit of a fear of flying, always kind of said, "Do you really want to be a pilot? I mean, planes crash, they do this and that." And I'm just like, well, that's what he said he wants to do. So my immediate family pretty much definitely stayed, was my support system when it came to that, and making sure that I that is exactly what I wanted to do when we started researching schools then.
Wait, so all right, so you said sophomore year. So where'd you go to school though, if you mind me asking? What state?
Oh yeah, it was in Maryland. What? That's where I grew up, and so where I did this intro flight was there at Freeway Airport in Bowie, Maryland.
Yeah.
And where I went to school was in University of Maryland Eastern Shore, though.
So that's so crazy, man. It really is, because like even out there with just the military bases and stuff like that, you probably see stuff zipping around, and then you guys have you got 3 airports that you beat.
BWI, Washington National, and then you got Washington Dulles, which was the furthest airport from us. Those were the major airports around there. But I mean, they do have a lot of private airports in the surrounding area where you can go, and private airplanes can go in and out and learn to fly there. Or if you have your own plane, you can go in and out of also. You don't have to go into a major airport to get to any particular state or city.
That's great. Yeah. So it's funny because fast forward a couple of years, we were talking, and I was like, man, I believe it or not, man, I want to be a pilot. And you said 10th grade. Yeah, I didn't know it was your sophomore year. That's the same thing for me when I went to the aviation high school. It was the same thing. I like the takeoffs. I like the landings. I like sitting there. I'm still obsessed with airplanes, but I just decided I was going in and then diverted some other way, kind of the way. But it was fun when we talked about it. He's like, man, you know a lot of stuff. Talking about IFR and VFR. What you know about that stuff? Man? I was like, yeah, man, I was out there. I was trying.
That's usually how you can figure out, okay, somebody has a little bit of the bug in them as far as the fun, because a lot of people that are in it or not in it is either you really like it or you really don't like it. And so right away whether or not somebody likes it or not, because eventually when I became a flight instructor, you can tell who's going to probably go all the way through and who probably won't.
I was just about to ask that. So you can kind of see it.
A little bit, yes. Because, when I fast forward a little bit, when I became a flight instructor and started teaching people how to fly, there was a few folks that came in, and the reason why you'll be amazed at the reasons why you hear people come in. I mean, one guy said, because they like Top Gun. Everybody that flies, they like Top Gun. Yeah. But then another guy came in, he said he watched Independence Day and he wanted to fly like Will Smith. And I was just like, what? Okay, it's a little bit more than that, but okay, let's see what happens. So we went up for a flight and just like, I think I'll be back. And then, I never saw him again.
Oh,
so
wow.
It depends, So there's quite a few pilots out there, and they've always had that bug in them ever since they were young also. So some of them actually you would be surprised they actually got their pilot's license before their driver's license.
Oh, wow. Wow. So all right. So that's crazy that you say that. So when you became an instructor, is that usually the path that you take? Like you get your license and then you go instructor, or you just keep going until like the commercial level? What's the usual path?
Yeah, that's usually the kind of path that people take. So when I went through school, let's I guess backtrack a little so people will get an idea of what it takes to get there. You start off getting your private pilot's license. That's kind of the basic thing. And then that way you can, kind of fly around by yourself, but you're only restricted to flying around during with good weather.
Okay.
Then you get your instrument rating add-on to it, which starts to teach you a little bit more. Is going through like significant amounts of weather as far as going up through clouds. What happens if you lose instruments, if certain stuff freeze over, and doing approaches to land without seeing the runway until, the minimum altitude to get into an airport. So that's what that teaches you. Then the next part you go into is commercial license, which is going expands a little bit more on going from point A to point B. And so that way you can start actually flying to get paid for it. The next license that you get is sometimes we may go on to the multi-engine rating as well. Flying a plane that has 2 engines has some advantages and disadvantages for it as well. So that course doesn't take as long. It's usually about 10 or 15 hours of it.
Okay.
So that way you can learn the advantages. And of course you do have to go get a flight test to do get that add-on as well.
Wow.
So each test is a whole course. You have stage checks in between as far as like basically like you can look at it as quizzes. Okay. Then you have the final test, and once you get to the final test, one is a knowledge test that you do before the actual practical test, where it's a whole bunch of questions you're being asked, and then once you pass that, then you go on to the practical test, which is you go with a flight examiner, and you he gives you an oral exam, asks you different questions, and then you go up for a flight, and that's how you get your license.
Wow. So when you go up for the flight, are you what are you flying? Like normally, what are you flying when you go?
Usually it's a small, either 2 or 4-seater plane. It's not a huge plane. Usually that's what Cessnas is a very popular one that people seem to always fly. So Cessna 150, 152s, 172s. Those are just different series of the different Cessnas that they have, but those are the main ones they use as trainers as when you learn how to fly.
Gotcha. So that's what you taught on, right? Or no?
I learned on it and also taught on them. Yes.
Nice. So about how long were you teaching though when you did it?
After I got all my ratings, because after that you get flight instructor, instrument rating, and stuff like that. After you finally get those, I taught for about, at the time, 7 or 8 months.
Okay.
Because before it didn't require as many hours to get into the airlines. Now people are going more of a year to 2 years to get all their hours to be able to probably get into the airlines now.
Wow. So all right. So I know we're talking back in the past, but I know it took a certain person to make it through like the curriculum of flight school, and like people started, and then all of a sudden, next thing you were like, "Yeah, I'm not doing it anymore."
Yeah.
So like, was it hard for you? Or
it was. There's just certain stages that are a little bit harder than others. Private pilot, you're learning the whole ton. You learn about different airspaces and the different rules, regulations that you have to go by as far as flying goes. That part is fun. It could be a little bit overwhelming, but it's not too bad. But the instrument rating is a lot harder too. So that they say that distinguishes between the men and the boys. There is whether or not you'll make it or not make it.
Wow.
Commercial is not as hard. It's more of getting more flight hours than actually a lot of challenges that you experience in aviation. But then once you get to flight instructor, that could be difficult too. So there's different sections throughout the whole training process where it's easier, hard, easier. So, because I don't want to make it seem like it's all.
I know.
Easy.
Like, man, I never
it's just that some parts are harder than others.
Okay.
That's what I would say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So now that you made it through, a lot of people, they may say, yeah, I got my pilot's license, but what I thought I was going to be making, like, this is not what they told me. This is not what I was sold. But, can you tell what was the difference between like you being an instructor? You don't have to give an amount, but like, is it like a big jump, or like when you first started off, was it like, I can't survive on this? Like, what am I gonna do with this? Or should I even do this right now? I need a job. I need a different job. Yeah.
Well, that's why if you're planning on being a pilot, you'd have to want to do it because you like the joy of it.
Okay.
You pretty much will want to do it because that's what you can see yourself getting up to do, even if the pay isn't as good.
Okay.
Back when I learned how to fly, the pay wasn't that good. I mean, pretty much I can give some dollar amounts as far as a flight instructor, I started at $20 an hour. Now, some people may say, oh, man, yeah, that's not bad at all. But we're not doing a 40-hour shift like most people are doing. It's based upon hours. So a lot of times you're sitting there, you might be teaching someone how to fly and giving them a little bit of some knowledge stuff before you go up.
Yeah.
Some of that's paid, some of it isn't. And then once you start doing the walk around and showing people different things, you really don't start getting paid until you get into to the seat and start the engine and that hops time start.
Oh, wow.
Same thing with the airlines. Once we get to the airline part, it's kind of the same thing. We don't start getting paid until the doors close and the parking brake is released. Then that's when we're on the clock.
Oh, so all right,
we're standing. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead.
But
go
no,
ahead.
so just standing around and waiting for a flight and all this other things as far as between flights, and if we get delayed and have to deal with maintenance, we're not on the clock yet.
Really?
Yeah.
So even if there's a delay and you're sitting, well, you said because the door is closed. So if you're sitting there and like you got a delay, you can't take off, but the doors are closed, and you're or taxiing, you're getting paid for that.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. Mm-hmm. Wow. I didn't realize that. So flight attendants, they complain about the same thing. It's like, I'm not touching that bag. I'm not going to put that thing down. The doors are not closed. It is not happening.
They're under the same thing.
Wow.
Yes. And so until we close the door and release a parking brake, neither one of us are getting paid. And then until you finally, take off, you head to your destination and pull into the gate area. Once that door opens, it's done.
It's done.
Yeah, you stop getting paid then.
Wow. So the transportation from the airport to the hotel where you guys are staying, that's on your time now.
All on our time.
Really?
Now, when you're away from base, so for the most part, a lot of times when I start work in Newark, New Jersey, and heading to somewhere else, when the whole time I'm gone from the base to the time I get back, you are getting a per diem.
Okay.
Now, this per diem, it depends on your rank, flight attendants, first officers, which is co-pilots, captains. They're all a little bit on different rates, but it can range between $1.50 to maybe $5.50 or so an hour as far as how much you're getting paid per diem.
Okay.
And that's a rolling time that you're getting paid until you get back.
Gotcha. Okay, so that's why they probably like, hey, spend the night. We need you back in the seat. You're not going to Brazil for a whole weekend and chilling.
That's why sometimes too, if people did some research and they start looking at how much hourly pay we get and stuff like that, you may look at it and like, wow, they get paid this much money. But at the same time, it's kind of to offset a little bit of not getting paid during the times that you're not doing. Well, you're sometimes you're doing stuff, but it's to kind of offset some of the time that you're not really flying.
Gotcha.
Also.
Gotcha. All right. So take me from private pilots to commercial, right? What was that time frame? Was it the 7 months or what's the usual time frame for that?
Well, people can do it now as low as a year. You
really?
can go from start to finish in a year, but that's you pretty much attacking it, going full on, not having probably another job, and pretty much flying 4 or 5 days out the week and making sure that going from start to finish. Now, how I did it was just going to a college, so for 4-year degree. So it took me 4 years to do it.
Gotcha. So how many hours do you need to, like, let's say I want to fly passengers around. I know the planes probably matter, but I want to be the one that fly passengers around. At least 60 people. Like what from it could be a year for that for you. Like when you start to get your license, to the commercial license, to start that or no?
Well, so and that's when I say a year, and I did it in 4 years. This is to get all the ratings.
Gotcha. Okay.
So within that time, you have a private pilot where it probably takes 40 or 50 hours. Then you may have instrument rating that might take another 60 hours. This all kind of depends on the individual. If you're flying more frequently, and so I always tell folks if you're flying more frequently, like 2 or 3 times out the week minimum, then you can do it with the minimum amount of hours.
Okay.
Basically that 40-hour minimum. Compared to if you only do it 1 or 2 times a week, it's not like riding a bike. Sometimes you may end up repeating some lessons, which means you won't finish in that minimum. You'll probably actually have like 70 hours by the time you actually get that license.
Oh,
so
okay.
You can end up taking longer and paying more if you don't do it as frequently as if someone else did it more frequently. As far as the how many days they're flying.
Gotcha. And that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. So let's talk about like jobs now. And I know in today's society is a lot different.
Yeah.
But how many airlines have you been with? You don't have to say where you're at, but how many airlines have you been with?
So I've been this is my 3rd airline, and I've also done a charter company for a very short amount of time.
Gotcha.
And also too being a flight instructor at 2 different places, because I started at the place I was learning. Then when I moved back to Bowie, Maryland, that's when I went to BWI. So so that I've been a few places.
I've been a few. So with the places that you've been, did you notice, because clearly we're African American, we're Black. Did you notice a lot of like us there, like learning how to fly, or do you notice like the classrooms, or even just the job placement, or just when you walk into let's say like a cafeteria or something like that? Was it's like, okay, all right, we here, or it's ugh, I'm the minority right now. What's going on?
Yeah. Well, first, when I went to a university, University of Maryland Eastern Shore, it is a HBCU. So I saw a majority of Black people going to school there. Then once I left in university, that's when you start seeing that, okay, I'm more the minority within the industry compared to other industries.
Gotcha.
And so after I left there and I went to BWI, I was the only Black person there. And then when I went to the regional airline, my first regional, you usually see 1 or 2 of us there.
He said 1 or 2.
Yeah. So it wasn't too many. And because of that, and starting to be out there and walk around the terminals and different things like that, there's a sense that there were some people that maybe, either work on the ramp, or there was a gate agent, or, even if I stopped real quick to get some gas or something like that, heading to the airport, I had a lot of people always seem to come up to me and be like, thank you for what you do. And I've never seen a Black pilot before.
Really?
And so I always kind of have to be camera ready. Because they always want to get a camera, they always want to take a picture with me, like, wow, I've finally met a Black pilot before.
Wow.
And so that's how it was back then. Now, even before I came in, it was even worse than that, but now today, there's even more and more of us out there.
Okay.
Because of the different people. And I don't even think I can put myself on the same level as others that have put themselves out there as more of a face, especially in some of these communities like OBAP, example, Organization of Black Airline Professionals, or Aviation Professionals. They did change their name. And so a lot of these different places out there have made more of a presence within aviation and even in schools to show that we can do more there's another avenue you can take
Mm-hmm.
as far as working as far as aviation is concerned. So,
Wow.
yeah, I guess
That's so let me ask you, because you say you were at several positions. Now, walking in and you're black. And I actually like pivoting to like the DEI portion of what's happening in today's society. This is 2025, February of 2025 right now. So I'm dating the episode. But like when you were going in and you were going to the hiring manager, or even though you have the same credentials, do you think things in place that are being taken away right now may have had some type of like factor on, okay, we need to find this candidate, even though we have 5 others right here, we're going to hire him? Or do you think it was like, look, he's extremely qualified, we'll need to bring him in? Like, how do you feel when it came into the different, opportunities that you had when you were coming in?
Well, over time, and like I said, I really have to thank a lot of the folks that have came in before me that did the majority of the fighting. As far as us to be able to have the opportunity to get the interview in the first place. But over time, I have seen, such as like what DEI has contributed towards us being able to work at certain places, which means when I first started, you can tell by how the conversation would go with certain people that people couldn't really, didn't know how to talk to other people because they were used to a certain demographic working within that industry. And I don't want to make it seem like it's just black, but it was also, white women, Hispanic. We also have people in the LGBTQ community that's also too that can play a part in that as well. So the thing is, when you only had one demographic always in an industry at the time, they wasn't used to being able to work with other people that come in now. And so now I have seen that DEI has made companies start to teach everyone that works for that company how to work with different demographics of people.
Okay.
So now you don't get certain comments as much as you used to, as far as of who should be here, who should not be here, and that kind of thing.
Wow.
So it kind of just makes the work environment a little bit more comfortable.
Yeah.
They're still there. We still have more work to do.
Politely said.
Yeah. But it is a little bit easier than it was when I first started.
Wow.
That's what I would say.
That's good. That's good. I mean, and I know, again, just this episode right now is February of 2025. And initiatives are trying really hard to make it go away. But, just from what I understood, like researching, there's even black female pilots, like it's almost non-existent. I mean, they're here, but it's like to a point, like there's so much more room for just a female portion of being black coming in.
But I'll say this though, and people can look up, excuse me, Sisters of the Skies.
Oh yeah, I know them. Yeah.
What they're doing is a lot for the black females to see that when black women in aviation can fly as well, and they're making huge strides in that too. Where I've been seeing not just photos, but also they're having different conventions and different events around the country sometimes. That way they can all come together and more black women can start seeing, and black girls especially too, can see that you're welcome to this industry as well.
Wow.
And so, when it's not just, black males, but black women are getting even a bigger presence now than they used to. And, they have, a lot tougher fight than we do, of course. They have to fight not just the race issue, but also the gender issue as well.
Yeah.
So they have the double fight there. But they do have those spaces where if anyone is kind of looking in that industry as far as being a black female, that they also have places you can go and people you can talk to that are actually in the industry that can connect with you, so you can kind of understand what it's like and that you can do it too.
That's great. Man, look, that yeah. If you guys don't know Sisters of the Skies, like their Instagram, they're always on there doing something. But it is refreshing to see. So the one of the final questions I have, and we could have started the episode with this, and if you guys know right now, right now, for the last 2 months, it's been crazy. Like as far as plane wise, like I don't recall in my lifetime of such a concentration of planes that were in the sky at one point, and now they're not in the sky. Meaning there was some incidents that happened. There's I can't even describe it. So you again, pilots, and I understand you guys go through a ton for training. Like you mentioned it, you have you getting your pilot's license, you have to have the instrument rating, you have to have all of this qualification for all this. Like, so I'm not afraid to fly, but I know a lot of people are right now, and it's like it's on heightened alert right now. Like I don't want to get in this plane. I don't even want to put my seatbelt on because what if I got to get out? Like, where are you gonna go? But I'm just saying, but how do you feel? Like, what is your take on all that's happening? Like, we texted each other when the DC incident happened because I was actually in DC,
right,
and you were like, oh no, man, it's still safe. Just you'll be all right. But you're in the sky. Like, what's your take on all what's happening right now?
Well, the industry can be very fragile.
Okay.
It has its ups and downs. Right now, it was going through its ups for a while, but now we're being highlighted again because of all the accidents and even incidents that's going on right now. You even have planes, hitting each other just on the ground, and no one's getting hurt, and it generally doesn't give the attention like it does now. I think what's the reason why it's coming out even more is because we've had back-to-back accidents.
Yeah.
And so right now, I mean, what people don't realize is we went, I want to say 17 years without any kind of accident. So the last accident before now was back when it was pretty much Kogan era out in New York, where they went out down in New York. And since then, there hasn't been anything too major. So I don't think there is a need to be afraid. I know everybody is probably a little bit more nervous now because it's being talked about now. But as far as flying is concerned, there's more times I've actually said that I've been a little bit more nervous going to and from the hotel than actually being in the air.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, I've had van drivers speeding up and down the highway in snow, and one guy almost was falling asleep behind the wheel, and a couple of people we had to say, can you put the phone down because they're trying to text while driving. I mean, I don't want to say that, it's you don't get nervous while flying on some occasions, depending on the situation. But to me, basically, with all the safety measures that they have in place, making sure, maintenance is done on airplanes, we are well qualified, the air traffic control and the type of equipment we have on each airplane. We have so many backets and safety protocols to make sure that we're safe up there compared to, someone that's just regular driving on the road.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a bad time, of course, for aviation. People will get past it. People are still flying. So I don't think people should be as nervous as they think they should be. But
wow. So up in the sky for you, what is like your? I know for everybody, certain professions that they have a point where they're like, all right, I got to deal with this part. I'm gonna deal with it, and I'll be good. But is there like a particular point at like during your flight, you're like, oh, this is my relaxed mode. This is when it all matters. Like, is it like a sight that you see? Is like a feeling that you get, like when you're up in the air? Like what would that be?
I guess I'm not understanding the question. You mean like when you're most relaxed?
Yeah, like when you're most relaxed, like when you get up there and you can reflect, like this is what it's all about. What is that?
Well, what's what's the nice thing about aviation in general, and as far as being a pilot or even a flight attendant, is just like you're not really there's no boss. There's something different every day. You know, you can go to a different city just about every time because everybody thinks you always have one standard route that you always go to. And that's not necessarily the case. Basically, you can go wherever you decide to bid for your schedule to go to. And so for us is, you know, we generally do like, you know, when you're up there coasting along and, you know, it's kind of more of a clear day right above the clouds and you just kind of cloud surf. And those are the kind of things that we kind of enjoy. And when you pop out and then you know, you see the sun, you see nice sunrises and sunsets. And I mean, the environment changes so much and your office changes all the time.
That's cool. That's a bar.
Yeah. It's, you know, nothing's the same every time, you know? So I think that's where we enjoy it the most because I have thought about, you know, what if I went to something where I'm more of in the cubicle so that way I can be at home or come home at the end of the night like most people do. And then I thought about it and then I started going there and then I looked at it and I was just like, I don't know, I can't do it.
Like this ain't for me.
This is not for me.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. That's so good. That was going to be the other question I had. What are the benefits and what do you feel like as far as what makes it worthwhile? But you just said it. So the final question that I have is like, what piece of advice do you have for a sophomore right now? Because again, if I could rewind time and if I had like a person to look at right now, or if I was going in like with a buddy and like, no man, you could do it. Come on, we gonna do this. I probably would be in a different. We wouldn't have all these cameras around. But what piece of advice do you have for somebody right now? It doesn't have to be in your situation, but it could just be there in sophomore. They're at that age. They have the itch. But they just don't have anybody to look to. And let's just say none of the programs or things that they could look into, like the organizations you were talking about is out there. Like what piece of advice do you have for them?
I would say because I went through university and saw how many times people fell out, the main reasons why they did was only because it's either was some parts of it was too challenging or they didn't have the funds to complete it. So I would say is as far as the money is concerned, you got to get out there and really try to find the scholarships, grants, find different methods to be able to try to fund the flying. And so that way, once you start, you don't have to have pauses in between and repeat some lessons like I stated before. So that way it can take care of the money side of thing. Anywhere you can find it, try to find it. You know what I mean? So that way, once you start, you don't have to stop. The other part is know that there will be challenges along the way that will make you want to quit. And this goes for any industry you decide to get into. You will have those times where you might, this is just too hard. I don't think I could do it. And you may even want to cry. Cry it out, then get back up and do it. And so you have to push through those times because it's an ultimate goal that you're trying to get to. And so I would say and not just that, have your, find someone also too that is in the industry or somewhere that is already in a place where you want to go, like a mentor. Not just a mentor, but also too, you can also have different peers that y'all can bounce ideas off of and also work together when stuff starts getting a little bit harder. It'll also hold you more accountable to keep pushing you as well. So those two people, like you said, it takes a village to get there.
Wow.
That's and good. If you put a lot of these different avenues in place, you can make it through.
Wow.
Especially if it's something that you really want, you can make it through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, y'all heard it. I don't have to say it. Brissette doesn't have to say it. He said it right here. So y'all, I really appreciate you coming through, man. Again, I know he has a one heck of a commute to go back. It's crazy.
About 20 steps.
About 20 steps, just about. But no, I appreciate you coming in, man. Come to sit on the seat.
Me though.
Yeah.
And I'm liking the whole thing that you're doing as far as the you know, letting people see what you're doing as far as, you know, you're traveling and all the progression you're doing with your businesses and stuff like that. So
appreciate it, man.
Keep up the good work as well.
Hey, look at that, man. I got some kudos, man.
Yeah, man. I've been seeing you, and I've been trying to, you know, make sure I like and, you know, sometimes share some of the stuff that you're doing as well.
Appreciate it,
because
man.
I think it does take all of us together to make sure everyone is building together as well. You know,
look,
you know,
come on, man.
Yeah.
You guys hear this? Come on now, man. Well, I appreciate it, man. Guys,
Absolutely.
This is David Taylor. I will drop his social links if he's open to it. I'll make sure we talk offline on it. But share this with somebody that you know that's contemplating being a pilot. Even if they don't want to go to commercial route, they want to maybe just stay in a private route. Mm-hmm. But if they're struggling right now, share it with them. But this is Jay with La Pointe Life. This is David Taylor, Mr. Pilot Extraordinaire. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Take care.